Hey there guys, and welcome back. Bob had actually given me 3 decks to do on how to fight against, so I thought we'd start out with Greatswords, since this one is one of the ones that I've learned a lot of decent tricks against, and yeah, I just went with the generic, one of the just sort of generic ones of what they usually run. I mean, some might run Wild Boar of the Sea instead of Telekinesis, or Dandelion Poet instead of Coral, but they're basically all the same trick that they tried to do. The better ones do run Mandrake though, so be careful of that. But what Greatswords count on, of course, is a long extended round, so that way they can get these Clan and Crate Greatswords really buffed up and really strong to make like an easy win in the last round. Because if you get like a 21 powered Greatsword and you play a Priest of Freya, then you get a 22-point play, and it's like playing the Siri Nova for a bronze. I mean, you can't really beat that. And then you got Restore to restore out the Denim Pirate Captain. So, and I mean, it's not even like you're losing tempo in that round either, because you got the Denim Light Longship and the Clan and Crate Greatsword going, and they're basically making up for your loss of tempo after a decent amount of turns. So, what you usually want to try to do is, depending on the type of deck it is, I mean, some run Djenge, very few run Djenge. Usually they crash and crate and bring out a Greatsword right away, a 10-power Greatsword. It's the most common play you're going to see, and that's their first play. It's a 15-point play, it's not too bad, it gets some Greatsword out. Then they're going to play a Denim Longship. It's going to go down to 9. So this is where it depends on what type of deck you're running. If you're running one that spams Elzur's Thunders, like Scully Tull and stuff usually spams Elzur's Thunders, or Alchemy, and you got those Witchers and stuff, just kill them off. Kill them off right when that ship hits him and he goes down to 9, and then the next time they play him, they're going to Priest of Freya him, or they're going to play another one. Do not kill that one right away, because it takes 2 turns for it to tick. So if you let him hit it once, then it's going to take another turn before he resets again, so you can stall him another turn and then hit him, and then kill it off right before it resets, because then it takes them longer to set up their whole plan of playing more Greatswords. If you kill them right away, they're just going to Priest of Freya them right away and bring them out with like their normal plays of Denim Pirates and stuff. So you want to kill them right before their counter goes off, not when it's still at 2. Just because it's going to lag them behind a bit. And that depending on how much removal you have, you got to decide how much you want to commit to that. Also, Mandrake, since I'm guessing your deck runs Mandrake, because mostly every deck runs Mandrake now, and is that when it hits that, the 10 power comes out, and then the ship hits it once, you can actually Mandrake it, bring it down to a 4, and then it won't strengthen, because you reset it and basically made its base strength its normal strength, so it wasn't injured anymore, and then it won't reset, so they'll have a 4-power Greatsword that's going to take another 2 turns to reset. And that's actually a really good play, since the Mandrake won't fizzle a Denim Longship, unfortunately, so I usually hit the Clan and Crate Greatsword, and that helps out a lot more than hitting the Denim Longship. Now also, if you're playing Radovid, some people get confused if you should lock the Longships or the Greatswords. You should definitely lock the Greatswords. If they play 2 Greatswords, just drop your Radovid and lock them both, because that's really going to hurt them, especially for the later rounds, because what makes this deck so great is that it can keep up tempo in round 1 and then have a great finisher set in round 3. So if you lock their Clan Great Greatswords, you're taking tempo away from them in round 1 and round 3, whereas if you lock the ships, yeah, they're going to have less tempo than if you lock their Greatswords, but then they're going to be able to make up for that tempo later in round 3. So, because they can still use Djenge and stuff to hit their Greatswords and still injure them that way and not have to worry about it. So that's another good tip. And then also, when to pass them is sort of iffy on which deck you're running and how much you want to commit to these Greatswords, because once you pass them, they're going to want to play you out in a long round, because they love long rounds. So you usually want to try to kill them off as many times as you can, and then weaken them with like Mandrake or whatever, and then if they get them back out again, and then they got like another turn before they're going to reset, I usually pass if I'm ahead, because then they're going to have to spend one more card, then their guys are only going to get buffed once, and then they have to revive him again to get the whole engine started again. Also, Restore is another card you have to be very aware of, because Restore is deadly when they bring out the Denim Pirate Captain. So just try to burn, like if you win round 1, if they forfeit round 1, try to burn out their Restore before you go into round 3. Because if you burn off Restore, you take out so much tempo from them, because that restoring a Pirate Captain into a Denim Corsair into a light longship is already an 18-point play. But it also sets up the Greatsword that's probably like at 11 or 14 or whatever it's at, however high you let it go. Then also, of course, what's great against a lot of decks is Graveyard Interruption. Anything like Caretaker, Osril, Vivicarvo, Medics, stuff like that. Like I usually have said in a couple of these decks, because they just happen to be the decks where those cards are really good. Yeah, those cards are great because you can steal their Greatsword that they buffed up. But you have to be careful, because if you can sort of bait them into letting them strengthen one single Greatsword and then focus all your removal on their other Greatswords, and then like round 3 you want to revive that one Greatsword, they let them get really strengthened so you have it. But you have to be careful, because if you do that, you need to lose round 1, because they're going to dry pass you round 2, then you're going to have first say in round 3, which will let you use your Vivicarvo Medic or your Caretaker to get it. Because if they have first say, if you win round 1 and you're setting up this plan, then you better revive it round 2 and not dry pass them, because then they're going to have first say round 3 and they're just going to use their Priest of Fray and bring their biggest one out, and you're going to lose all that advantage that you could have gotten. So that is something else that you definitely want to do if you want to use their own Greatswords against them, which is really tricky and good sometimes. And then, yeah, of course, Coral, Artifact Compression, Muzzle, those cards are great. They're great cards against a lot of these greedy decks, because they just shut them down, because you Artifact Compression a Clanging Greatsword, and then you muzzle another one. Well, now they only have one Greatsword left that they're going to be able to buff. So if you have those cards, you're usually set. You're usually set against a lot of greedy decks with those cards. Scorch does help you too if you're running a Scorch deck, but you got to be careful, because you want to remove these guys a couple times before you bother scorching them. Because if you scorch them, then they just Priest of Fray them right back. Your Scorch is kind of wasted. But besides that, the deck, yeah, that's how you usually want to fight the deck. Definitely taking round 1 helps a lot. But I mean, if you want to pass because you can go 2 cards up against a Greatswords deck, if their Greatswords aren't at like 16 to 18 power, and they don't have, let's say, like 4 cards left in their hand, then it'd be okay. Or 5 cards left, because then they're going to have a short round anyway. And short rounds, their best combo is like Restore, revive out that Greatsword that shouldn't be too powered if you're doing this, and then play a ship to get it going. So, yeah, that's what I got for this one. Also, I mean, they usually run the Hymn Skajal combo, so having your Disloyal unit, of course, is great, because then they Hymn and Skajal into Disloyal. They usually have it set up so that way they're going to pass you in points anyway. So having that response Disloyal, and actually, after you've killed off their Greatswords a couple times, you place your Disloyal unit in between the Greatsword and the ship, and that really messes with it, because then your Disloyal unit's getting hit by their ship and their Greatsword isn't, so he's not buffing as much. But then they can have Django or something to back it up. Also, be careful, one more thing, forgot to mention, careful when you pass them. If you give them a chance to where, like, say their big buffed Clan Crate Greatsword is on a 1 timer until he's gonna reset, if you pass them and they can Vesmir Mandrake and beat you that round, if that happens, that's gonna suck. So just try not to pass when they have the ability to do that. If you know you're facing an Alchemy version, which it's kind of hard to know if you're facing an Alchemy version or not until they play the Mandrake. But a lot of the really good Greatsword players will do that. Like, because Mandrake's such a low tempo play, they'll wait, and then once you pass them, they'll just Mandrake their Greatsword, get them up to like a 20 then, and take the round anyway. because they'll get the +6 and then +2 from him strengthening. So be careful when you pass them too. Always keep track of the Greatsword timers. And besides that, yeah, that's everything for this one, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if there's any other decks you want to, because I got 2 more to go so far. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, have a good one.